So for the demos this week, I'm going to be mostly using the same Adobe XD file. And if you download from 2U interface demo zip and you open it up, there's going to be an XD file and then some images, because I want to show you a couple different things with this file, and those images will hopefully show you a nice little trick that's going to make your life easier as we progress, particularly with the final assignment. So if you go ahead and open up the interface demo week 9, we're going to use this kind of wireframe version of the recipe book site kind of structure in order to show you a few different things. And so we're going to start off with pinning elements into place. So sometimes we're going to have things like our nav that we're going to want to stay in one spot as we're working, or as we kind of use our site. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see what I've got here. So when you open it up, I've got a header up here that's outside of any of the pasteboards. That's just, it's on the pasteboard rather. It's outside of any of the artboards. It's called website demo. And this will be something that maybe is of use to you, again, as you're working on your final, to kind of annotate or to tell us about different sections of the site. Now, if you look at this site, I've got a index page. It's got my recipes, it has my header, and then I have recipes that have tips, and then I'd have a footer area, and then I've got this kind of recipe page. It's got a bunch of recipes on it, and I've got this tips page. All right, and then I'm going to show you how to do an overlay in a little bit. So from here, what happens when I use the home? So let me just click my little play guy, see, okay, I've got this, I scroll down, and then I've got my footer. All right, and I haven't linked these guys yet. I'm just going to real quick, I'm going to link those in my prototype mode. So again, I want to have my, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see everybody. I want the recipes here to take me to my recipes page. I'm going to go down to recipes. I want tap. Transition is fine, very quick. Dissolve to the recipe page. Awesome. And then I would like my tips to go to my tips page. Awesome. And I want here, I'm going to want my little bear. Come on. I want my bear to go back home. And both of these guys, bear goes home. I'm on recipes, tips. Gonna need to go to tips. Awesome. That's working all right. And that's fine. And recipes works great. Okay, so now just going to pop back over to design just so we can see what happens when I go to the various pages. If I go to recipes, again, I'll scroll down. I've got my recipes. I've got this kind of obscuring my things down here. And then when I go to tips, my tips, and then this is kind of sitting below. Awesome. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that. Now, what if I wanted my navigation to stay on screen while I scrolled? So this happens, think of like the New York Times website where like you'll have the information, and then as I scroll, I want the nav to stay here, and then I want recipes to go underneath the nav, and I want tips to go under the nav. Well, thankfully, while this is a fairly common thing that you might want to do, it's actually super easy to have this happen. So I'm going to click on my nav up here, which I have, it's a group. I'm going to click this box here. It's just fixed position while scrolling. Awesome. I'm going to do that for that and then this page. And I'm going to do it here as well. Okay, awesome. Now, let's see if it works as intended. Oh, I fixed the position of my nav, but I haven't fixed it for my logo. And look, everything's going above. That's not what I want. All right, let's have a look and see if we can fix that. Now, what about my recipes page? Oh, well, that's working. It's going behind, but my logo's still moving. And the same thing for my tips. Now, this is where layer order becomes important. So I'm going to open up my home artboard. And one of the things you'll see is that my top nav is all the way at the bottom. Well, that's kind of a problem if I want it to be on top and to stay there. I'm going to go ahead and drag it all the way to the top. Now, the other thing is I'm going to click on this logo. Well, the logo needs to go above it so that it's seen. And I'm going to fix the logo's position as well. I could also put the logo in that top nav group, but for right now, I want that to be separate. Now I'm going to go ahead and change to my other artboard and just make sure I get my logo to also be fixed. That was going behind just fine. And on my wireframe tips, same thing. I want my logo to remain fixed. Now, I then want to show you one thing that you might think you want to do and then realize, oh, maybe no. So one of the things is thinking about your footer. Now, you'll notice here, I have it kind of mocking up as if you had the idea that the footer would hang out here and then stuff would scroll behind it. I'm going to go ahead and click Fix Position while scrolling on this footer just so that you see what happens. So I'm going to go just to this wireframe recipe page. We'll start at the home and we'll see if our pinning is working. Yep, my logo is staying in spot and everything's going behind just as I wanted. So let's go to recipes. Well, I can't see the footer. Where'd the footer go? Well, that's because what's been pinned in place is that you're pinning it down here underneath where the scroll position is. That means it's never moving above here. It'll never get in frame. So instead, what would be the better way is to do what I've done here and to go ahead and I'm just going to move these two elements real quick. I'm just going to pull them off the pasteboard down here. I'm going to then extend my artboard down, get these two guys back, pull them back up and stick them on, and then kind of figure out spacing wise, where do I want them? Probably about there. And then I can fix the size of my artboard because otherwise it's never going to move above that position off screen. So that is obviously not what I want. So just to keep that in mind, if you've pinned something, it's always in relation to the screen. So if it's below here and you've pinned it, it'll never get on screen. Pinning it allows something like your navigation to stay in place, which can be really useful. But remember to check your layer order to make sure that it is on top of what you want it to be on top of and that you've pinned all of the elements you want to stay in place. And this is where groups can come in handy.